Next item on the agenda is the staffing summary, minimum course enrollment approval.
So the board, Kristen will provide a summary of her chart and her work that's included in the board packet. When I first arrived in 2011, and the school district was dealing with the large deficit, in the spring of 2012, the second semester of my first year, I was bringing the board up to speed on some practices to put in place in order to account for staffing and the staffing of classes to ensure that we were, being our largest expenditure, that it was reflecting student interest and need. And so the board approved a policy that any courses below 20 needed board approval to run. And so what we do every year in March, as we bring you the courses that we know we need to run in order to have a holistic curriculum, and we ask for board approval on some of these courses. We also provide some initial staffing reports just to give you an idea of courses that are possibly over the caps that we have set in order to kind of keep a handle on our staffing and our largest expenditure, or some that are under the cap but over the 20 mark, just to give you an idea of where we're at with staffing after all course selection is done and before we do any rehiring for next school year. What Kristen will do is she'll bring this same report to you in August or the first board meeting of September to give you an idea of how this compared out once we had all the transfers coming in over the summer and if there was any changes in staffing. Is that it? Anything else am I missing?
No, that report comes a little later.
September cow?
October or
Yeah,
November.
But I think we give an update. It's just try to push it forward.
Just panicking a little bit.
All right, Kristen, give them the summary of your report.
All right, so this accounts for our 104.4 FTE, which was the projection that Dr. Skink has provided in November. So that FTE includes the FTE that we need for the new College and Career Readiness Academy, which involved the restructuring of our reading as well to give students an option between extended reading and just a 50-minute period reading, as well as a 0.4 FTE that was allocated for an additional social worker. Just as an aside, one of the things that the students, which was a reoccurring theme on Monday in many different high schools, but one of the things that our students expressed was more awareness of the mental health services provided at RB. And so I think an additional 0.4 social worker clearly aligns with that. And we have some general programming that social worker will do. So below are the list of courses that are below 20 that need board approval. Pre-algebra is something that you probably will see every school year. So we offer it within the math department so that students with or without IEPs can take the course. Predominantly, a majority of the students that take the course have IEPs, as it's a course that's below grade level. However, it's important that we offer it to students without IEPs as well. Introduction to Heritage Speakers. It was a new course last year. So these are obviously for students who speak Spanish at home and are usually pretty good at speaking, but struggle with the grammar aspect and the writing aspect of Spanish. And so this is one of our courses that is also considered a bilingual course. We have 16 students enrolled now. Typically, we will have students that transfer in that will fall into one of our heritage courses. So I would guess that this course would be over 20 once the school year started. And then our Honors German 3 and AP German class combined has 19 students. This isn't too surprising because last year we brought to you German 2, which had 17 students. So obviously they're now German 3. And we have 19 students. So in addition to that, we provide special education enrollment and a history for the past 7 years. So that is on the next chart, the next page. It's the first chart. This year we added transition placements for you to get a better sense of what specifically our students are doing. So as you can see for next year, we anticipate 213 special education students. We have 15 that are in private placements, and you can see the trend over the year. years. The reason that our total number of students has gone up is because our number of transition placements have gone up. And that has gone up for two reasons. So those are students who stay on after they are eligible to receive a diploma. They defer that. So all special education students have a right to receive additional services up until their 22nd birthday. And so transition students consist of students who are 18, 19, 20, and 21 up until, again, their 22nd birthday. And so that's why that number jumped from 15 to 28, because it depends on, obviously, the number of students that we graduate the previous year and the number of students that choose to stay on. Over time, you can see a big jump from 6 to 28. That's partially because the definition of transition services had expanded. And so that's one of the reasons. The other reasons is more parents are choosing to take advantage of those services. So those services obviously consist of helping students transition into the workforce, as well as honing their transportation skills as well to get to those jobs. Next are classes that are over 20 but are under the cap. And so when you look at this, it's a little confusing at first. So we're reporting out on anything that is below the negative, the window of, we look at plus or minus 2. So it's anything that's below that minus 2 for the cap. So anything that's below 23, 28, or 38 are what we reported out on. And you can see the list of courses, and that is very similar to the number of courses that fell into this category last year. These are courses that are only offered one period a day. And some of these courses are low, and we know we will have transfer students that can enroll in those courses as well.
Can you tell me what CAP is?
CAP is our college admissions program, so it's our test prep class for, now will be the SAT, before it was the ACT.
Kristen, just on page 245,
She didn't get there.
We're not there yet,
it's the
but
same chart, right?
No.
the top part is, yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry.
So the second chart on page
Yeah, it
2,
is.
the second
245.
chart on page 245 are classes that are offered one period a day, but they're over the cap. So
So
the
I-
first chart was under, this one is over.
My question though was on the 245 on the top. Still carrying over from your previous chart.
Okay,
So German 1 has 20,
correct.
and we already approved German 3.
3 and AP,
Okay, so obviously we gotta keep an eye on our German numbers.
correct,
Because we're having trouble getting 20 students signing up just for regular German.
correct.
That's what I was trying to.
Yes, and sometimes in languages, you'll see a drop off, especially usually after 2, students get a little intimidated by the third level. But certainly, you may have some students drop off after 1 year as well. So the next chart is our classes that are only offered one period a day, but are over the +2 of that cap. And so, because these are only offered one period a day, some of these students will simply conflict out, meaning they'll have to make a tough decision between, do I want to take this course or do I want to take this course, because they're both only offered 7 period a day. And in scheduling those, we try to minimize the number of students that have to make that decision, but it does ultimately happen for some students. Looking specifically at Calculus BC, we anticipate just running the course at 28 rather than having 2 sections of 14. So that would be a particular course where we don't anticipate students conflicting out, or also the music classes, honors, wind ensemble, symphonic, marching band, etc.
And if I recall correctly, when this finalized last year, you didn't have any that were like 10 over or
Correct.
anything like that, right?
Correct. And then on page 246 are classes that are offered multiple periods a day that are over the cap. And so depending on the course, we've given you the class average, because we offer them multiple periods, and so you can see we may be just a few students over in a particular course. And depending on the course, some students will typically conflict out, other students will be moved out of the course based upon their grade level. and/or course recommendation or previous grades. If they were recommended to take a course, but maybe not have the grades that would demonstrate they'd be successful in that course, we would have a conversation with that student. But a majority of these classes are typically under the target by the start of the school year as well.
For the calculus BC, would it be better to have one class that, meets your requirement, maybe one a little smaller, is 28? Or was it 28 or 35 for calculus B? Is that too big for that class?
It's 28. We certainly have run, prior to the initiative of lowering core math courses, or core courses, math, science, and English, to the 25-1. They have run at the 30-1, or 30 cap in the past.
So do you think though 28 will be in there by the start of the year, or will someone drop?
Most of the students in Calculus BC choose to stay in there. There might be one, at most two, but most of those students will stay in that course.
Okay, so if one or two drop, then we're right at the cap,
Correct.
or under the cap,
But we
okay.
really only need one to drop,
Okay.
to be within the cap. Not that I would encourage a student to drop. Make that clear.
We remember, we use these caps too as just kind of some guidelines to help us with staffing.
Yeah, I mean,
Every teacher in the,
Right.
in the school would say, hey, take that class to 28 and make it 2 of 14. If we could do that, that would be great. But then we might use more than 104.4, and I would need the board to approve that.
calculus BC, we have few of these types of classes.
Sure, I understand.
And so I'm just asking if that was something people are requesting a little more help, or are we making sure that we're giving enough resources? Because that's
So it's a
an
highest level
important
course.
class. It's the highest level math class. I think we'd want to make sure it's successful.
In talking to instructional coaches and being a former math department chair, if I had limited FTE and I had to decide where I would give an extra section to, it would not be Calculus BC. It would be either Algebra 1, Extended Algebra, some of our students who have a difficult time understanding concepts. It wouldn't be for our honors or AP classes. Now, if FTE was endless, sure, we would want to give another section to that course, but if you're looking at, given the FTE that we have, I would put it towards our struggling learners.
Well, plus, correct me if I'm wrong, but we actually had pretty good scores in calculus on the AP
Correct.
last year, didn't
Mhm.
we? And
We
had about the
typically do
same
every year.
number. Well, it's improved since you've been here. We had years when it wasn't very good at all. So, but my recollection is we did pretty well.
Calculus BC students do very well on the
Yeah.
AP test.
So
Good.
I
I
think
just
that's
want to
an
make sure we have
indication.
enough resources for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Anybody else? And so for this one, Kristen, you gave a very thorough, long report, but the only thing as a board we actually vote on is approving the 3 courses where the enrollment is under 20, right?
And over.
No, we
No.
don't.
No, just under.
She reports
Just
on
under 20.
I thought we also have to approve that it's over.
No, we told them we wanted to report on it all the time, so we make sure we aren't getting the classes too big. The policy only requires us to vote
I see.
on courses that are under 20. And again, I think what Dr. Skinkis didn't add is, when he looked at it when he first came, we ran a whole bunch of courses where there were like less than 10 people on them.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
5, 6, 7.
Oh,
So
yeah.
that's why we set up this policy. So I think if somebody could flip back to page 242.
I'm there.
you could read
Resolved that the
section.
Board of Education, Township High School District 208, Cook County, Illinois hereby approves in accordance with District Policy 6:31, minimum course enrollment, the list of courses for the 2018-2019 school year with projected enrollment below 20 students based on the current student enrollment data as presented in the March 13, 2018 Board Agenda Packet.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any other questions or discussion? So one thing people need to understand on the board, if we haven't done this when everybody's on, it is possible that when actual enrollment comes up, we'll have more other classes that could be under 20. And the administration can decide to run the class and we just vote on it based on the projection, so that everybody understands.
That's why we give you the second chart of courses over 20 but under the cap.
Right.
So we know which ones we're watching.
Mary Ann?
I'll just add one
I'm sorry,
comment. I
John.
mean, I think this shows that we're being efficient and where we're allocating students to classes and stuff, and I think you could probably tweak it too if you had to. You could encourage kids to take this instead of that. No, it's good, I like this.
Well, and I think one other thing, Kristen, they didn't explain where some of us been on board longer, you put a lot of effort into working on a schedule so that you didn't have a lot of like one, what do you call them when there's only one?
Singleton.
Singletons at the same time. And that the ones where there's 3 or 4 or 5 sections, they're spread out during the school year. So over that couple of years you did that, you improved the participation of the students and cut down on a number of courses that were way high or way low too.
Correct. I can't take credit for that. Beth Augustine, Director of Student Services, facilitates a majority of the master schedule, and then she meets and brings the information to me, but she works hard on it with our data processing manager to minimize the conflicts and then to maximize the number of students in the course given the guidelines that we have set.
So do we have a list of the courses that are over 20 that we not approving? That we just canceled?
No, we didn't cancel.
No, we don't cancel
don't
any, we
cancel.
don't cancel anything over 20.
So maybe I said that wrong. So if kids don't sign up, then we have 7 kids that we don't offer that class.
Correct.
Right.
We have a list of those classes.
Classes that don't run, there's a lot of them.
That's a bunch.
There's a lot.
Well, I know, but if we keep putting the same class on every year and 5 years we don't offer it,
You're saying just pull the course?
of course.
We are looking at that. We started the process for looking at what new courses we want to run in the future. This is the time of year where teachers have, or instructional coaches have an opportunity to alter prerequisites for courses and then to take courses off the books. And we have one of those for next year as well. So teachers have a hard time saying goodbye to a course that's like in the course guide, even though it may not have run in the past. And so.
Again, you get blindsided from your neighbor, right?
Yes, correct.
Oh, every year you cancel this class. I'm like, well, I don't even know we had that class.
So, yes.
Right? Because I didn't know that we canceled it, or, excuse me, we didn't offer it. So that we didn't offer it, well, then we might have not offered it before, and they might have a very narrow point, right? And it's hard for me to explain, well, yeah, we do for this one, but we don't for that one.
So
So, I mean, I'm welcome to do that, and I understand that we're looking at German, okay, well, we're approving German, and looks like we're gonna have to approve it next year. So, you know, maybe we need to
Well, we
think of
start
different language.
watching, looking for trends. You know, but we have some courses that get 3 or 4 kids every year to sign up because it looks like a cool elective and the way it's written in the course book and it hasn't run.
And maybe we keep it on there because it looks like a cool, like.
Right.
But then sometimes we do have courses like AP Music Theory that hasn't run in a couple years, but you'll get a class that's very musically focused and you'll have enough students to run the course. So it's a tough decision whether or not to take something off the books. I understand from a parent's perspective, you know, looking at courses in the course guide that actually
So I
run.
have a
And
question,
so
did Rock Band make it back?
Rock Band did make it back. Yes. Huh?
See, I mean,
See?
I'm interested, I
Yeah.
thought that might come back.
It did.
So, but you could take that class and reoffer it
Right.
if you had enough,
I
like.
could
Rock
always
Band.
pull, Beth might be able to run a list of courses that did not have enough students sign up. I could send in a Friday update.
We had 8 or 9. I did count. I don't
Okay.
have the actual list of courses, but we had about 8 or 9 that had some students express interest, but like maybe 3 or 4, sometimes 1.
I'm just curious.
The reason we give you so much information is when we first started to have to do all the cuts back in 2011-12, the concern was that we were losing our academic integrity. And so what we've tried to build up over the years is that we're trying to keep courses closer to 25-1, that are core courses, the courses that aren't. We're trying to just be fully transparent. Here's the courses that are running high, here's the courses that we're committed to keeping our core courses and the core content areas low. Go from there.
somebody want to read the resolution?
I think I did.
Did you?
You did? Yeah, I
We
did.
had a second.
And you
Yeah, we had
seconded, and
seconded
you
and
said
everything.
discussion, and now it's
Any
up for
other
the vote.
discussion?
Mary Ann?
Mary Ann, you want to vote? She can't tell you to
Yes.
vote. Don't listen to her.
Yes.
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 Yes.